Okay, in this video we're going to start looking through some different ways to do percent problems, and some of these will be best for different age groups. So we're going to start with page 31 and 32 out of the lab manual, and we're going to start by breaking down what is a basic percent problem. So most percent word problems can be condensed down into what's called the basic percent equation. So let me just give you an example here. Let me go back to my blue. Let's just say we have, for example, 13 is 50% of 26. So we know that 15% means half, so we're saying that half of 26 is 13. Okay, so we have these three names. So we have the base, and this is the number that we're starting with, the number that we're going to take the percentage of. And then obviously the percent's going to be the one with the percent sign. And this one's called the part. Some books also call it the amount. And that's the number you get after you take the percent. So just a little heads up, the base almost always follows the word of. And then of course the percent is the one that has the percent sign. So usually you can use that if you need help narrowing down. So if we look at number 1, we have blank is 20% of 400. Okay, so if we identify our base is going to be 400. We can see that it follows the word of. Our percent is going to be 20%. And the part is what we don't know. So we're trying to figure that out. All right, so we're going to use what's called the grid method. This is a great method for starting out because remember that a percent means something out of 100. Okay, so that's sort of the basic principle of what a percent is. So what we do is we take our base and we divide it into 100 parts and we use grid paper. So here we have a square, and what we can see is that that 400 has been broken up into 100 equal parts. Okay, so that puts 4 in each box. So what we're going to do to fill out our box is we'll always do the base divided by 100. And whatever that gives you is going to be the amount in each little square. Okay. So in this case, we did 400 divided by 100, and we got 4 per square. All right, now we have a few questions here. How many small boxes are in the entire grid? We know that there's 100. And the reason we like this is because each box represents exactly 1%. So 1% of 400 would be 4 because that's one box. Now in this case, we want to show 20%. So what we're going to do is we're going to shade 20 boxes. All right, so let me go find a good highlighter color. All right, and it doesn't matter if you shade vertically or horizontally, but I'm going to shade 20 boxes. And remember, if I shade 20, that represents 20%, just like what we did on the grid paper. All right, so now I want to look at what is the total amount in the shaded area. Well, there's 4 in each box, and I shaded 20 boxes. So my total amount in the shaded area is 80. So what that does is that tells me the part. I know that 80 is 20% of 40. All right, so that was a lot of information. So let's kind of go back and do one from scratch and see if we can get a feel for each part of this problem. So I'll try to leave this one up here a little bit. All right, so we have blank is 18% of 30. So we know that our base is going to follow the word of, so that's 30. We know that our percent is 18, and we don't know our part, so that's what we're looking for. All right, so we're going to start by figuring out what goes in each box. So remember, we take the base and we divide it by 100. So our base is 30, and if I divide that by 100, I get 3/10. I'm going to write that as a decimal. So 0.3 in each box. Now it's a little tedious to go through and write this 100 times, but I am going to go through and do at least a couple of rows or columns. So the idea is that if I add up all 100 boxes, I should get my base, which in this case is 30. Now if you're doing this with younger kids, you may want to start out with these already filled, or maybe have a computer program that fills it for them. So I'm just going to fill out 2 columns and kind of do that to indicate that I really filled out all 100. All right, so now we've taken care of the base, so let's move on to the percent. 18% means I should have 18 shaded boxes. All right, because I want to take 18% of this entire thing, and I know that each box is a single percent. So if I want 18%, I'm going to shade all 10 of these, and then I'm going to shade 8 of these. I'll try not to mess that up too bad. All right, so those would be my 18 shaded boxes. So your percentage always gives you the number of shaded boxes. So your part will always be the sum of the shaded boxes. Okay, so basically you found that 1% is 0.3, so 18% should be 18 times 0.3. Right, so 18 boxes shaded at 0.3 each, and if you multiply that out, that comes out to be 5.4. All right, so that answers our question. 5.4 is 18% of 30. So this is really getting kids thinking about percentage being out of 100. All right, so let's try another example on the next page. So we're going to flip over to page 32. Number 3 says 18 is blank percent of 200. Okay, so let's start with what we know. We know that our base follows the word of. That's going to be 200. That's going to be our starting value. In this case, we actually don't know the percent, but we do know that our part is going to be the other number, which is 18. All right, so this one's a little different because we don't have the percent, but we can still start with the base. Remember, we take the base and we want to divide that amongst all of our boxes. So I'm going to put 2 in each box. And the idea is if I add up all 100 boxes, I get my base, which is 200. So just like I did last time, I'm going to fill in just a little bit. I'm not going to do all 100. And then I'm just going to do arrows to indicate that the rest is marked in. All right, so normally what I do is I go to my percent, and that tells me how many boxes should be shaded. So that's what I'm trying to find out. This is what I need to know. I need to know the number of shaded boxes, because remember, that's going to be my percent. So I don't know that because I don't have any shaded, but now let's look at the 18. So what does the 18 tell us? Remember, the 18 is the part. So what that tells us is that the sum of the shaded boxes is 18. All right, so let's grab a highlighter and let's start shading until we get to a sum of 18. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. All right, so that tells me that I have 9 shaded boxes. All right, that gives me the sum of 18. So that means that my percentage is 9. So 18 is 9% of 200. So that one's trickier. All right, it just comes down to the fact that the part is always the sum of the shaded boxes, and the percent is always the number of shaded boxes. All right, so now let's look at our last one. This is number 4. 8 is 4% of blank. So this one's really tricky because I don't know my base. All right, so that's my unknown. I know that my percent is 4%, and I know that my part is 8. So normally I go fill in my boxes first, but I can't do that because I don't know what the base is. But let's think about what we do know. We know 4% means that we have 4 shaded boxes. All right, so we can do that. Grab a highlighter, shade any 4 boxes you want. All right, so I've got that. Now my part is 8. So remember, 8 is the sum of the shaded boxes. All right, so if I have 4 shaded boxes and I want the sum to be 8, that tells me that each box should have 2, right? So just 8 divided by 4. All right, so now I've got 4 shaded boxes. The sum is 8. So the base will be the sum of all 100 boxes. So remember, even though we only have these marked, right, they all have 2's in them, right, all the way down. So 2 times 100 gives me a base of 200. So then I know that 8 is 4% of 200. This is a good way to do some basic percentages, just always getting kids thinking about it being out of 100. All right, we're not going to do method 2, the abbreviated grid method, so you can skip that one. And in the next video, we will pick up with page 33.